Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend's friend to watch her mouth when she insinuated that my girlfriend isn't a real woman? I went on a dinner double date with my girlfriend's friend Amy, and Amy's boyfriend. We're all in our early 20s. My girlfriend hangs out with Amy quite often. I see her from time to time, but I've never cared for her cheeky attitude. The tipping point was tonight. Dinner was going all right until Amy's boyfriend innocently commented on how little my girlfriend ate. She usually gives me half her entree. After that, Amy, who doesn't stick thin like my girlfriend, snidely remarked that my girlfriend wouldn't need fake boobs if she ate like a real woman. I loudly told her to watch her fat deity damn mouth, and that her comment was both rude and unnecessary. Amy isn't overweight by most standards, but that adjective slipped out because of what she said prior. Many people turned their eyes toward us. My girlfriend and Amy's boyfriend tried to quell the ruckus, but Amy got up and told me to have fun with my Barbie doll before she motioned Amy's boyfriend to get up and leave with her. Don't worry. You pay before you get your food at this restaurant. My girlfriend and I talked about Amy. She kept saying that Amy and some of her friends make these comments all the time, and they don't mean them to be derogatory. I tried to convince my girlfriend that no friend would make those types of comments, and she's better off without someone like Amy in her life. My girlfriend still thinks that Amy didn't mean to hurt her with the real woman and Barbie doll comments, and I didn't read the room correctly. She told me she feared Amy not wanting to be friends with her anymore after my creating a rift between them. I couldn't get through to her no matter how much I tried. I tell you, I have trouble with this as well. Socially, I really had trouble growing up, and I have always had trouble telling whether someone's just joking and when they don't mean it, or if they're really just trying to get away with insulting me in public, and I'm sure a lot of people have that issue. It does sound like this is on the mean girl side, but I don't think this guy has enough information to really make that kind of a judgment. He probably should have kept it to herself and made a comment to the girlfriend and talked about it afterwards. And I think that's about it. I mean, it was rude, to be sure. If you really wanted to say something to Amy, should have said it outside of the meal. Probably just kept it out of the public space. What do you think? Story 2. I got attacked by a dog and the owner did nothing. Florida. I owe $120,000 in medical debt due to the emergency plastic surgery I needed on my face. I, 25 female, was attacked in a dog park by a pit bull. The dog park is an enclosed area where owners are supposed to watch their dogs off leash. It happened on February 3, 2018. The attack was classified as a level 1 trauma. I arrived at the dog park before noon with my 2 dogs. The dog was being aggressive toward my dog, a puppy, and before this, they were dry humping each other. I went to lift my dog to prevent a situation, but the pit bull turned on me. The last thing I remember is it, and there's like asterisk marks, I don't know what the word is. I remember me being on the ground covered in dirt and mauled for like 3 entire minutes. He locked on 2 of my limbs, ripped my face apart, and left my dog for fatality, to be the D word I'm not allowed to say. I tried so hard to defend him and myself, but this dog overpowered the both of us. I was rushed to the emergency room, given an immediate mic of fentanyl for the road, but even that couldn't calm the pain, which is really the only thing I can remember for the aftermath part. I almost went into cardiac arrest from the rate my heart was pumping, is what a nurse told me. I wasn't aware of the extent of my injuries, but I couldn't see from my left eye. A few days later, I woke up and found out. Several of my nerves had been severed from this attack. Since it was an emergency procedure, the medical cost is exponential. Right now, I'm working every hour I can. I'm in counseling. I find it hard to be anywhere in public where dogs can be alone. I cannot go into the sun because my face scars darken so easily, and my self-confidence has been ruined. Is there any way the dog owner, I know who she is, can be responsible for the medical fees I'm faced with? Can't give you legal advice. Someone else would probably have to help you. At least we know you're in Florida. But yeah, it does sound like, to me, it sounds like there should be some way for this dog owner to be responsible for it. You just absolutely lawyer up. Find someone. I'm sure someone here is going to comment. Get all of your medical stuff together and get all the witnesses. Talk to the people that took you to the hospital and just lawyer up. Do what you can. I believe you deserve compensation. Story 3. A picture is worth 1,000 burns. So I had been with Ben for 18 years before I'd finally had enough and asked for a divorce. He moved several hours away near his mom. Also meant he left me to raise our kids by myself with little child support and never seeing the kids. I decided it was time to have a family portrait done, as it had been a while. We went and had a sitting. As we were looking through the digital images to pick out what to order, my oldest asked if we could send one to Grandma, his mother. I told her that I didn't think Grandma would want a picture worth me in it, but I would be happy to order her a picture of just the kids on it. My oldest swore Grandma would want me in the pics and always made sure to ask about me and how I was doing. Heard from Ben's best friend that he hated the fact his mom told him he messed up, the best thing that ever happened to him, and that she still remained friends with me on Facebook. I was kind of surprised. My ex was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive to me during our marriage, which is why I ended it. I never knew his mom actually thought so highly of me. Only ever saw her a couple of days a year at Christmas. No issues, just never grew close. So my oldest calls up Grandma right there in the studio and asks her if she'd want a picture with me in it or with just the kids. Grandma asked specifically for a picture with all of us, including me. So I decided to order her a nice glossy 8x10 that I had matted and framed and mailed that to her. Apparently she hung it right in the entryway, where every time my ex walks in, he sees my smiling face staring back at him. I just wish I could have seen the expression on his face the first time he saw it. Ooh, just the revenge is just so petty and marvelous that even your own family is getting in on it. Oh my goodness. A lot of people think this guy messed up, and everyone else is fine with everyone else, and this guy needs to get his life together. I wonder how this mother felt about this guy moving so close to him and the talks that they have. I can only imagine the discussion that happened upon the ex seeing this picture. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for putting parental controls on my TV and royally ticking off my father-in-law? I, male 30, live with my wife, female 30. We have 2 kids, male 8 and female 6. My wife's parents are staying with us temporarily as their home is having some serious repairs after a freak accident. It wasn't their fault, and luckily they had insurance. The repairs should be completed in 2 months from now. I don't really get along with my in-laws, especially my father-in-law, but I agreed to let them stay because I thought the time would fly by and it wouldn't be that bad. But I'm posting here, so I guess I was wrong. My mother-in-law doesn't have a job, and my father-in-law works late shifts until around 11 p.m. When he gets home, they will watch YouTube in the living room and play music on it at a loud volume with our speaker system. It's not college house party bass tearing apart the walls loud, but it's still loud. My kids are not light sleepers, but this wakes them up. Then they go wake me up because they want me to make it stop. My kids need to be rested for school, and I need to get up in the morning to drop them off and go to work. My wife works overnight shift, so she doesn't witness this. I tried to talk to my mother-in-law and father-in-law about it and asked that they please keep the noise down after my kids' bedtime, which is 8:30 p.m. I don't expect complete silence, but I really don't think they need to have the TV on loud late at night. My father-in-law argued with me and said that he doesn't finish work till 11 p.m., so I'm basically expecting him to not do the things he enjoys after work. I told him he can do it before work or on his days off, or it's tough smeg. He complained to my wife, who's now taking his side and saying that the kids need to learn how to sleep through a bit of everyday noise. I told her it's not everyday noise and that he and mother-in-law are being excessively noisy and inconsiderate. She's just not there to see it. My father-in-law has been sending me links to buy earplugs for the kids. I've gotten really fed up with this. It's not my in-laws' house, and they're staying with us as guests, and I think they're being really selfish. I decided to put parental controls on the TV so that my in-laws can't use it after 8:30 p.m. until 6 a.m. the next day. Between those times, the TV can't be used without putting in the password, and only I know it. This doesn't affect my wife, as she doesn't get off work till 6 a.m. and isn't normally home until 6:20ish. My father-in-law is now incredibly ticked off with me and said that I'm acting like a child and keeps pestering me, demanding the password. My wife is also mad at me for upsetting my dad. I'm just so annoyed at this whole situation, and I'm sick of hearing about it, so I just want to know if I'm morally in the clear. The kids were complaining. The kids, who typically love, flaunting the law and staying up late, they want to go to sleep. And these people are in your house keeping your kids up, and I really don't understand the wife's view on this. She's not there for this kind of loud noise. I say a compromise should have been you would have bought the parents headphones of some sort so they can listen to what they want on the TV. That should have been the compromise. It should have been like a step that you should have offered. If they would have argued against it, yeah, put the parental controls on it. Your TV, your place, your rules. I'm sure if you were living at their house, they would have enforced some rules on you. They seem like these kind of people. Story 5. He punched me over a fender bender. I destroyed his life. I was working as a civilian with the U.S. military overseas, and I lived off base in an apartment complex popular among the U.S. military. One morning, I accidentally hit another soldier's vehicle. Upon exiting the vehicle, I noticed that both our vehicles were what you could call a hoopty. A hoopty is an old car that's pretty beat up that has been passed around from service to service member, and they generally sell for $1,000 to $2,000. I also recognized that I was at fault for the accident. It was a very minor accident. His rear bumper was dented slightly, but I could hear both our cars still running. I approached the driver, who had already gotten out, and he was in uniform, and I apologized and said if it was all right with him, I'd like to negotiate a payment that I will pay him in cash, and we don't involve the authorities. I wanted to keep this simple. I'll be honest, the accident was so minor I honestly expected him to say, "Nah, man, it's good." But even if he wanted some money, I'd have paid him. I've always been of the opinion that if you have a fender bender and can negotiate agreeable terms between both the parties, it's best to not involve insurance or the police. He told me he wanted to call the police. I said we could call the police, or we could go on base together and I could give him $300. He said that wasn't enough, so I upped my offer to $500. He proceeded to punch me in the face. It was a sucker punch. He got into his car and took off, and in the process nearly ran me over. Now, I had a black box in my car which recorded everything. I went to the provost marshal office on base, the police station, and reported the accident and the assault and showed the MP the footage. They used his license plate to track him down. I was also asked if I wanted to involve the local authorities or press criminal charges off base. Honestly, I felt like the soldier would learn his lesson if I let UCMJ, the military court basically, handle this, and I said, not at this time. I was told it was an option. The end result was the soldier in question got 60 days of extra duty, reduction in rank, and forfeited a portion of his paycheck. Essentially, if he dealt with that, this would have been the end of the whole ordeal. Honestly, at this point, I assumed our little ordeal was over. A few days after his punishment was decided, which was not long after the incident itself, I was in the commissary, a grocery store on base, shopping around when the soldier who assaulted me saw me and began to insult me. I told him he needed to calm down, that he should learn his lesson. He told me that I was a female body part who didn't know how to take a punch. I reminded him that I held back on destroying his life. He told me he's already being punished and I can't touch him again. He left me be. A store employee witnessed the entire encounter, and I got the employee's details and reported this interaction to his command. His commander told me he had been ordered to not interact with me and would take action. His commander also recommended that I involve the local authorities since the soldier obviously isn't learning his lesson. So I did. I contacted an attorney. The attorney was unsure if we could successfully sue the soldier and said he would need a cash payment to take the case. Honestly, I was mad and I wanted to teach this guy a lesson. I agreed. It was not cheap. To keep this story short, we ended up in a court off base. We presented our evidence. The soldier in question had decided to represent himself. Several times in the court, he had outbursts. The judge ended up granting me a judgment of approximately $50,000 US. When the judgment was given, the soldier called the judge a son of a shrew and that the army would cover for him. So the judge changed his judgment to $80,000, and the judge then asked me if I also wanted to press charges against this soldier in criminal court. Honestly, it was obvious this guy wasn't going to learn a lesson. I told the judge I wanted to pursue criminal charges in addition to the judgment. My lawyer later advised me that if I ever wanted to see the money, I should pursue an international hold. With my judgment, it's likely that a judge would grant me an international hold. An international hold is basically where the soldier would not be allowed to leave the country until I was paid my $80,000. Also, he told me that according to the agreement between the U.S. military and the host country, the U.S. military would honor the international hold. Basically, the U.S. military would not protect him or move him out of the country to avoid punishment. Honestly, by this point, I had paid my lawyer thousands of dollars, and I honestly didn't feel like paying thousands of dollars and getting nothing out of it. So I said, yes, I want to go forward with the international hold. About a month later, the international hold was granted, and the U.S. military was informed of this. 2 months after that, the criminal case was over, and the soldier was sentenced to 90 days in jail. By this point, the soldier had been moved onto the base into his barracks by his commander. I remember the day I was informed the NPs handed him over to the local authorities to begin his 90-day jail sentence. Did I mention he still owed me $80,000? I heard nothing for a year, and then one day I got a call from his commander. His commander wanted me to make a statement in regard to the case. I go in and make the statement. During the statement, I found out the U.S. military was in the process of chaptering a soldier out of the U.S. military. The commander also informed me that he was close to coming up with the money to pay me so he could have the international hold lifted. The commander also asked me if my lawyer would be willing to make a statement. I contacted my lawyer, who also made a statement about the facts of the case. A few weeks later, his ex-wife contacted me. When this all started, I knew he was married. Guess his wife decided to divorce him. She informed me that his ex-husband had the money and needed the details on how to pay me. I provided her the details, and a few days later, I got the payment and contacted his ex-wife to inform her I had been paid. She then asked me to send a receipt so he could have the international hold lifted and returned to the States. I asked her how he got the money. She said he maxed out his credit and also had family help out. Also, during this conversation, I had found out the Army had chaptered him out of the military. I sent her the receipt, and that was the last I ever heard from his side. I took his $80,000 and bought myself a brand new car and used the rest of the money to put a down payment on an investment property. Now, there are a lot of good people in the Army. There are a lot of good, solid people. But like any situation, you're going to have some real jerkwads, and especially someone like this. Unfortunately. And even the Army wasn't going to cover for him in this terms, in this particular position. Just because he was mad that a junker of a car got a little bit of dent in the fender. Could have been resolved. He could have come out $300 richer on that, or $500 richer. I guess he's not good when he gambles in Vegas.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 6. New York. UPS dumped around $10,000 worth of product in front of my store at 10 p.m. on Friday night, long after it was closed over a week ago. My supplier is blaming UPS. UPS is blaming me and refusing to do anything. What can I do? I run a hobby shop in New York State. I have a supplier who I've worked with for years, who typically sends me my product via UPS. UPS has been massively delayed due to COVID. I went from getting orders multiple times a week to basically almost nothing for the last 8 weeks. I had nearly 100 packages sitting in the UPS distribution center. Some of them have been there forever in the state of out for delivery for weeks now, to things basically entering the black hole of the local distribution center weeks ago with no updates. This hurt my business pretty badly, which was already suffering due to COVID, as a lot of this stuff was items people had either prepaid or waiting for me to get my hands on. On June 26th, when I was more or less in bed, I suddenly got a slew of delivery notifications from UPS around 10 p.m. Since I live a good 45 minutes away from my store, I freaked out, and by the time I managed to get there, the stuff delivered had been taken. I checked the CCTV for my store entrance, and probably 10 minutes after UPS dumped the packages, some people came by and picked up all the items and took off. I made a police report and passed it along to UPS as they had completely fouled up. On Friday, I got an update, and UPS had closed all my claims, stating that it was signed for. The signature was basically the word COVID, which, from my understanding, is UPS not requiring signatures due to COVID. Oh, take that footage, keep that footage, lawyer up. Use that footage. UPS is definitely in the wrong here. It seems I don't think the supplier was in the wrong at all. And again, can't give legal advice, but yeah, I think you definitely have a case here. I think it's worth lawyering up for this one. Story 7. Never tick off the photographer. Never. I'm not a professional photographer, but friends and family ask me to take photos for them all the time. I love portrait photography, and I'm happy to do the favor. But sometimes people are really awful/annoying, and then it really grates that I'm spending my evening/weekend shooting and then processing photos for free. A few years ago, I had a really bad client. A colleague asked me to do a family shoot on Mother's Day. I knew I'd have the morning to play with before going to see my own mom, so I accepted. It was going to be at a winery in the country, and my colleague offered to pay for me to join them for brunch. Bonus. We carpooled, and it wasn't until we got there that I realized that it wasn't just going to be my colleague, her husband, and her kids. It was my colleague's husband's entire family. Brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents, and even both grandmas. 27 people. I'm immediately panicking about how long it's going to take to do this shoot and mention to my colleague, C, and her husband, CH, that I have to leave in 3 hours to get back for my family on Mother's Day. CH said, "It'll be fine." I don't really have a choice as we carpooled, so I try to relax and have fun. Brunch goes on forever, and when we're finished, we only have an hour for photos. An hour. I figure that should be fine if cutting it close, and I asked for CH's help in keeping his family organized and moving. I plan out the normal shoots with CH, everyone together, family groups, kids, and then CH starts asking for couple shots as well. Then siblings. I text my family, letting them know I'll be a little late, but hoping it won't be too bad because CH will keep people moving. An hour and a half later, and everyone is having a bad time. The kids are crying, it's taking forever to get any shots at all. Why? Because CH is yelling at people, hurling commands and orders, barking, foaming at the mouth. It's incredibly awful. The winery people come over a few times and ask us to keep it down. CH yells at them too. I'm praying that they kick us out. I try telling CH that I have to leave, that we can try again for photos another time. The family tries to leave. We are stopped. No, we must endure. When he tells his son that he's going to knock the snot out of him if he doesn't stop crying, something snaps in me. I stop trying to cheer people up, get fun photos and happy smiles. I just take the photos we need so that we can all just get the hell out. When I eventually get home, I do what I can with these miserable photos. I combine different frames to get group shots where everyone looks happy. Where that doesn't work, I touch up facial expressions so people look less harried. I steal bits from candid shots earlier in the day. These are impossible masterpieces when I'm through with them. I spend hours and hours making sure these pictures are going to hang in living rooms forever. Then I go through every single fracking photo featuring CH, absolutely every one, and just enough to be slightly noticeable, just enough to look weird and awkward, I enlarge his head. Don't mess with service people. Service people are responsible for doing stuff for you, and you don't know what they do. This person is genius. There is another guy that's famous on the internet for taking people's Photoshop requests and just really going off the rails with them. And this guy is channeling that just a little bit. Bravo!
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.